Okay, so that's how we design microstructures that won't melt at high temperatures. What if we want to design a crystal that will melt on demand? Well, we can do that too. In fact, you know all about it. You eat it every day if you're lucky. It's this crystal in chocolate. And the whole point of this crystal is to melt only when it gets in your mouth. And it's a billion-dollar industry making crystals that only melt in your mouth. Let me just kind of gear us up here now and say that we're going to do a mass taste testing of chocolate. Great. And at home, I hope that you've got some chocolate ready for this taste test. And if you haven't, now's your chance to try and find some. And what we're going to do is Chris is going to taste chocolate at the same time that you're going to taste chocolate, but he's going to do it in a very special way. He's going to get into this dentist chair. I hope that's not going to alarm you too much. And we're going to put an endoscope into his mouth, so a camera inside his mouth, so you can see, while you're eating the chocolate, you will see him, what the chocolate's doing inside his mouth. You've never done this before, have you? Yes. This is a whole new chocolate experience. All right, ready, everybody? We're about to do this. So get ready to put this in your mouth. Get ready not to chew it, but just to let it melt in your mouth. Are you ready, Chris? I'm going to give it to you. You can put it in your mouth. Okay, pop it in your mouth now. Mass taste testing in the UK. Now, what's happening is you've got this kind of waxy solid in your mouth, and it seems to be doing not very much. If you explore it with your tongue, you'll find it's a bit cornery. It's a bit of a taste of corner, isn't it? But as it stays in there longer, it's starting to melt. Yes, you're getting a little bit of melting going on. And what that is the cocoa butter is melting. It's a crystal, and it's melting on your tongue. And when crystals melt, they're taking energy from your tongue because they need it in order to melt. And that's called the latent heat. And that will cool your tongue because you're taking heat away from it. Only you feel it. Well, don't say, but you should be feeling a cooling of your tongue now. Oh. And now, after that, once it's liquid, it's going to start to release the flavor molecules. And there are about 600 different flavor molecules in chocolate. And actually, they're going to go up the back of your mouth into your nose. And that's where you're going to start tasting the chocolate. Because that's the real richness in your nose is where the taste is coming from. And in a minute, I'll tell you what they are, those molecules. But also, what's now happening in your mouth is the liquid is releasing the sugar crystals that have been embedded into the cocoa. And that should be making its way onto your tongue and making it feel sweet now. You should have a sweet sensation. And now there will be other things like a sort of slightly milky dairy sensation because of the milk protein and powder in your milk chocolate. And at this point, there's chemicals like theobromine going into your blood from the chocolate and caffeine. And they're starting to make their way around your body. And they're going to go into your brain and give your brain a bit of a buzz, a nice pleasant buzz. All the while, the mass of chocolate on your tongue is getting more and more molten, more and more delicious. It's smelling more and more lovely. And you should start, if you can really look out for the really fruity flavors, because these come from the fermentation of the beans. The beans are left in the tropics on the floor to ferment. And then also you should feel this kind of, there'll be a lot of caramelly, nutty, roasted flavors coming from the roasting process of the chocolate. And this is such a rich, wonderful flavor. It's just the most glorious thing. Now you've got this mass of hot chocolate in your mouth, haven't you? And what you want more than anything else is to glug it down, don't you? And put it down the back of your throat. Are you ready to go? Okay, so now just let that mass of chocolate. Yes. It's a really physical experience, isn't it?
Swallow.
Okay, let's have a big round of applause. So here we go. This is a little model of the microstructure of chocolate, which you just ate. And I'm just going to talk you through it. So, a lot of what chocolate is fat. A really delicious fat called cocoa butter, which you can also use as a cream. That's what creams are. And here it is, we've got it here, and it exists in 6 different crystal types. And each one of those crystal types has a different melting point. And of course, if you have the type that's too low a melting point, it will melt in your hand or it will melt in the shop. or it'll melt on a very, not a very hot day. And if you get the type that's wrong, it will never melt at all. So you need to get type 5 crystals. Also, we've got the cocoa solids from the beans. This is where all that kind of wonderful flavour comes from, and all the roasting, and all the caramel, and all the nuttiness. And we've got some milk protein solids, and we've got some sugar. Okay, so those are the main ingredients in chocolate. And of course, when you put it on your tongue, oh, no, it's very strange. It's a very strange object. Anyway, I can't explain it. It's very odd. But anyway, there we go. Right now. So you put the chocolate on your tongue. Ooh. Whoa. And you can see immediately that what the fat is doing is not only is it controlling the melting point, it's also controlling when these other ingredients are released. So you want that fat only, A, to encapsulate them, to protect them, but B, to kind of also then release them at the right moment and just when it gets into your mouth. And then, of course, it becomes sort of very creamy, and all of that rest of the stuff that you experience happens. Now, this is a mock-up of it, and we'll see in a minute what happens to this. But I want to show you the real microscope under the microscope. And we've got a microscope outside, so let's go and have a look at it, because it's not often you get to see chocolate under the microscope. So I'm just going to nip outside and have a look. Hi, John. Hi, Kelly again. Okay.
And we're using a detector now that responds to the density of the material. So the denser the material, the brighter the image. So you can see here where we've got some very bright crystals. Those are sugar. And with the fat globules here, we can even see that there is a difference in brightness or darkness, whichever way you like to look at it, between them, which shows that they are different materials.
Yeah.
And some is cocoa butter and some is other.
So we've got some sort of other fat in there, these globules, haven't we?
Yep.
It's not all pure cocoa butter. And it's very kind of heterogeneous. It's sort of all mixed up.
It's very lumpy.
Yeah, lumpy, that's a good word. Okay, so, so that's what chocolate looks like under the microscope. You saw it there, and this is these are those same ingredients that we've kind of made into this model. And you can see now what's happened, that the fat has melted, just like we all just experienced. It's an incredibly sophisticated material, this, as sophisticated as steel, and yet tastes a bit better than steel, in my experience. So that's the amazing science of chocolate and how it works at the micro level.